Hello and welcome to episode 204 of the Imperial Truth. I'm Greg. Joining me as usual is Mr. Howard. Hello, Howard.
Hello, Greg. You doing all right?
Yeah, can't grumble. Yourself?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. So getting through. It sounds like the same thing every time, but yeah, no, pretty good actually. Let's go positive. All good.
I just to show you behind the curtain, listener, can't grumble after spending the last 10 minutes grumbling.
We
Pre-show.
excise that. We excise all of that before we get into the conversation.
Flayed myself, so it's all good. Before we go any further, Element Games for all your hobby needs, basically, just all of them. And pretty soon now they're going to have those new paints they worked, the mini color as well.
Yes.
I'm getting a bit hooked on mini color.
We're about a month away, I think, from those in theory.
From official release.
Or
the
official
delivery of the
Kickstarter.
Oh yeah,
I guess it was Kickstarter will be early May, and then so I suspect it will be back end of May. I would imagine they'll release more widely.
Yeah, I could not justify the £100 and some odd pounds at the moment with everything else going on. I really, really wanted to, but I want to pick up a handful of those. I also want to move on. I don't use my airbrush, and I've almost all my Vallejo paints are Model Air, and then I use a wet palette, and it's not a great combo. So I need a little paint refresh. I'm thinking about Army Painter, looking at Speed Paint 2, and I need a kind of look at the way I'm painting, look at my approach, and I'm going to look at my paints and see how I'm going to move forward with them. And I will probably get a lot of them from Element Games because they are pretty much all available there.
They are one of the few retailers that seem to actually cover everything, and particularly with some of the things like any color coming along is going to be exclusively through them, I think. Ooh, I say that. I'm not sure that's necessarily
I think it might start that way, but they want to be
because they want to be in all stores, don't they?
They want to be in all stores.
Be out and around,
said
so
that.
It won't be exclusive. Okay.
So no, but they are. It is Artis Opus. They're obviously part of that umbrella. I don't know exactly how it works, but same people are part of Artis Opus, part of Element. So yeah, looking forward to that, and maybe I'll get to play with some.
Element came through for me with the Custodes release. My usual local store, who I've been supporting since they were around, unfortunately fell. Well, yeah, they fell through. Their pre-order system failed me on this occasion, where you normally register interest early on.
Well, it's probably not their fault, is it?
In this case, it was.
Oh, was it?
I've heard other people where it has been a problem. It was to do with the fact that the register of interest got updated. I checked in on it, and then that sort of reset the clock compared to when I was there before. Either way, whatever. There was a glitch in the system that fell through. Element logged in on the day. There they were available. I'll go for one of those, please. Seamless.
Now, did you use our link?
I did.
Did you? Good boy.
I did.
That's what
I used our link and I used a crystal code. So yeah,
wonderful.
Did all the usual Element niceness, and
good to see someone.
Definitely, some more people are using the old crystal codes, because every time I go in and do something there's sort of the little bonus there, which really
good.
Which
I'm glad yours
makes you feel great, doesn't it?
I get certainly more people use the crystal code than the link. So. And that's fine. There's no complaints here. Anything you choose to, help the show out is great. The link is a really useful one for us, like in terms of just paying for the hosting and things like that. It's been a fairly reasonable, ticking along help for us. And thanks to Element.
Affiliate links are tricky like that, I find.
It
was tricky on that day, because I thought, well, I want to use this, but equally my anxiety's up because I know what this is going to be like. This is going to be like, rushing a new release type of thing that's going to sell out in minutes. Particularly from what I'd heard with the allocation being what it was. And so I thought, got to be. Whereas a crystal code is super easy, just tuck in during the process. Whereas a link, you're like, does that work if I've refreshed it? And what happens if I go do this again? It just feels slightly more fragile.
Yeah. Refreshing it certainly, I think, can break the link.
This is the problem.
But also, I think so some people just forget, and there are a lot of people with a lot of links. So
Yes, fair
it
point.
is what it
fair point.
is. What it is. Yeah. Thank you to anyone who's ever used codes or links. It's much appreciated. Certainly, I had credit on there from the actual show sponsorship, and it built up over time, allowed the credit to build up, and we'll get onto it later. But that amount of money is nowhere near going to cover the amount of Cities of Sigmar stuff I have to buy. And that's before I think about a second cog fort. In fact, that money probably won't even cover a cog fort. So I need to find the money from somewhere else. I've got a Sylvaneth army for sale, which will be going online very soon, because I need to raise some money.
eBay live things are all the rage right now, so I can see.
I'm not doing lives, but I'm certainly going to put a load up on eBay. Because the Sylvaneth look good as well. I don't know if anyone knows, but if you want a Sylvaneth army, they're looking good. So I've got some stuff for that.
Tasty.
Yeah, Cities of Sigmar is going to be something. And Cities of Sigmar and managing not to buy Trench Crusade, STL,
there's a starter set as well, isn't there?
And the starter set as well. One of my colleagues has ordered that already. He's trying to get it cancelled because he ordered it through the official site and was like, "Oh, Element are going to have it, and you can get it from them, and the price might be the same, but the shipping will certainly be cheaper, and there'll be no tariffs." So,
yeah.
But yeah, I thought I want to try Trench Crusade. Read the book, really into kind of the idea of trying it. I think it's going to be a quite cool casual story game for us, and bought secondhand some Russians just because they were reasonable enough to try the game to see if I like it and want to do more, and then started putting £1 on a load of Kickstarters for 3D printed models. The Axia Kickstarter at the moment of the Trench Pilgrims, it won't be available by the time this comes out. But they look fantastic. There's so much cool stuff out there. But I'm like, nope, not buying anything until I know I like the game enough. But yeah, it's been a hobby of mine recently. It's been looking up Kickstarter, Trench Crusade STLs and things like that.
Well, there's also Element will be on hand, I believe, at Salute in not too long, a couple of weekends away.
Yeah, Salute, and then when's UK Games Expo? That is June.
A bit later, yeah. I was going to say June. Yeah. A bit later.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll talk about my hobby. I've not done a lot. I did put up photos of what I have done with my Custodes. Very little has been done to them since because I've been busy. I have been building some Trench Crusade. I've been building some Rattling Snipers for Kill Team, and then realised how many you need and Ocarins and stuff like that. So that's gone on hold.
Very disappointed with your commitment to the new release of the Custodes.
They're sitting on my desk, ready to be painted.
Okay. They're in progress.
I have done a little bit to them.
To be fair, you hammered through the building of those. You smashed through that quite quickly, and then it hit a wall.
Yeah, and I've got this is a wall I've got at the moment anyway. Like to the point where I went and built my Elder Start Collecting box set. Finished off building bits of that. Yeah,
who are you? Wow,
I picked up a Start
I'm looking at one of those as we speak. Actually, yeah, interesting.
It's one of those things where I had an itch to build some Eldar for some reason. I don't really know why. And we did a table sale at the club 2 Christmases ago, and I was like, Wraith Guard are cool and stuff, and I was thinking maybe Combat Patrol would be better than it is, that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I'll do a swap on some of the stuff and get that, and maybe one day I'll see if I can paint up the Wraith Guard quickly because then there's less detail on them. And now it's like, yeah, there's a real itch to. I bought some Colourforge paints at UK Games Expo last year, or Salute last year, specifically to do the Eldar. And they've sat there for a year and a bit, almost a year. So, yeah, built some of that. My hobby has gone on things like editing podcasts, eBaying stuff. Had a big bill for my tooth implant, things like that. So trying to recoup money. just getting caught up in loads of different things. You know how it goes. But so I haven't done a huge amount of hobby outside of like reading up on rules for different game systems and things like that, and keeping up with Adepticon and all those kind of things, which are they're part of the hobby at the end of the day. But yeah, Salute's coming up. I'm going to head up. You're going to be there?
100%. Yeah, it's a highlight for me. So yeah, we'll meet up.
We'll meet up at some point. It's an absolute pain in the rear trying to get hold of Howard when he's in that room.
It's true.
Wandering around.
It's true.
And we can't wander around together because you just end up drifting off.
It's true. You just coincide at certain key moments, and that's about how that works. Yeah.
So I'll try and wear something show related.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we'll do that
when I go up anyway. If it's not show related, I say I'll try and take a pic. I'll get up there, cruise around, head to the Fox. I'm sure at some point. Hopefully, you're going to meet up with Henry from Cold Paint. I think he's coming up. Who's planning on doing it? Yeah, and I say the Element will be there, which means Artist Opus will be there, which means they'll have some painters around as well. Normally, Neil ends up being there, Neil Hollis and Andy, and yeah, some interesting people. I'm looking forward to it actually. Normally, I don't buy anything really at Salute.
I mean, either.
Stock up on some paints, but this year it might be having a real good look at some paints, having a good look at some of the game adjacent models as well.
I'd imagine Trench Crusade was going to have a presence, and similarly, I would have thought there'll be certainly. I would imagine there'd be paints to try at a bunch of places. I would imagine, particularly Element, should probably likely to have their mini color range. I would have thought.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they got some for trial. And for sure. And then it's just been announced that Army Painter are going to be at UK Games Expo.
Are they?
Yes, and Kat and Caleb are coming over for it.
Oh, cool.
From America, from CK Studios, and Kat and Caleb are good friends of mine. So I'm definitely going up there. It's always the way that I wanted to go up on the Sunday. I've got a cricket game at a ground that local to me. It sounds really stupid, that I've never played at and I really want to play at. So I'm like, okay, I won't go up on the Sunday. I'll go up on the Saturday, which will be busier, I'm sure. But I'm going to go up and spend most of the day there and try and catch up with people and go and see Kat and Caleb and the Army Painter. As I say, I want to talk to them about their paints and have a look. I want to go and see if we've got any, at that point, if we've got any more info about the Heresy RPG.
Interesting.
Thingy, because it's been a hot minute since we did the interview with them, or I did the interview with them. So hopefully they'll have some information, maybe some trial stuff for that as well. And then walk around again and see loads of stuff that I want to buy that I probably shouldn't. And the Games Workshop are running events there as well, aren't they?
They are. Bit much bigger presence this year. A presence this year, which is unusual.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what else they have around that, if they have anything else around that. So yeah. So that's me, I suppose. Have you been up to much?
A bit and pieces. There was a holiday in there with the pre-Easter holiday, but we still have children that don't have to conform to school holidays. That stopped that. Although I did take some frames with me, with a little bag of essential hobby tools. I managed to, during nap times, I was able to build a few Belatari for my solar. Because I've got a bit of a solar auxilia push at the moment. I revisited the color scheme on the ones that we took to that event, which now feels like that was a lifetime ago.
It was a lifetime ago.
And I've been I was never super happy with what I'd settled on. It was all right, it was cool, but I thought, I could just do a bit better with this. So I've ended up with two schemes which I've been working on with these guys, which is just one is a sort of a tweak of the one I already had, of a tan undersuit and grey armour. But the other one is basically the inverse of that, white armor. And it's all looking a little bit kind of sci-fi soldier. Which one do you want to go to? Sort of trying to look semi-realistic, he says in inverted commas. But and you sort of start seeing things come up on the new June trailer, for example, the way they've done some of the soldiers on that, and you're like, oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. So I've been putting up photos of those as I've been working on them. Both these new Velatari, which I've been building, been itching to build those. Those were the first thing on the bench after doing those Custodes. So I've built now a squad of 10 of them. Finished off a couple of.
Sorry, remind the listener where they can see those.
Those those Custodes were very kindly featured on the community painting article, although I didn't love the photo that they took for that. There was a bit of a colour, some colour work had been done there, but I believe you've shared them on the Instagram, the Child Fang Instagram
Well,
page.
we did an
we
actual
did a collab, didn't we? Which had the delightful effect of my mother deciding to comment on that, which is super cool and makes you feel great at the age of 41 when your mother's commenting.
You're so young.
I know, whippersnapper that I am.
You need to post on Instagram, man. Like that is your one post. Is a collab.
Funnily enough, yes, it is. Yes, true. Because I just used it really for following other things and chatting with people separately. Someone else, when I posted those Solar Auxiliary I was talking about, the 2 color schemes and a couple of examples of different infantry models, I posted those on Facebook, and there was a couple of people who I'd been chatting to for different things. One guy who I hadn't realised was an Instagram guy who I'd followed for a long time as a big influence, reached out to me and he's like, "You've got to start a hobby Instagram thing." And some people get really kind of into having these hobby Instagram accounts and post to them quite frequently and otherwise, and sort of make that an outlet for what they're doing. Which the idea of getting feedback via those things is quite appealing now, because you're sort of getting a bit of my hobby group being more dispersed than it once was. We don't really meet up. So you sort of think, well, actually, that would be quite handy to have a sort of an outlet for like-minded people who could give you input on those sorts of things.
I'll tell you what, should we, between the two of us, should we make a commitment to hobby and put stuff up? I don't quite know what level of commitment, but maybe we're just trying to keep each other honest with it, because
it's quite a good idea, actually. I mean, I found that it's actually been quite beneficial having a deadline like with those Custodes.
Yeah.
That forced me to do stuff that I would never have been motivated to do. It's a bit like having an event or something like that, but not going to be able to go to those kind of numbers of events. But having little deadlines or little things like that does motivate you to do some stuff. And I've reached a bit of a weird impasse almost with those, because I like those 2 color schemes so much for the Solar Auxiliary that it's preventing me moving forward, because I can't commit to one or the other. Every time I think, oh yeah, it's okay, I'm done. It's them. And then I glance over at the other ones, and you're like, oh, bugger. So I could really do with that extra help.
Do we think there's a way of having more than one? Or like 2 detachments almost?
I sort of don't want to.
Sure.
Particularly given how relatively similar they are, because they are quite literally an inverse of each other. I think it would lose some of its cohesiveness. This idea of this blocks of infantry, I think, is kind of what that's about. So I quite like to pick one and run with it. The vehicles are fixed. I've done all the thinking about that. I'm really happy with where they are. I just can't decide between those 2. So I built some Velatari. I finished off a half-built assault squad that I sort of recovered, and I finished off a veteran tactical squad build for my Sons of Horus with the Volkites, because that's kind of handy for the Sons of Horus trait that they've got.
Yeah.
And I've got an upcoming game for the first time in I don't know how long with friend of the show Grant, who will be hosting on Saturday, a bit of an Easter game. So assuming all goes to plan in family life, I will head over there and probably take the Sons of Horus. I'm tempted to try the Alpha Legion for a while. I don't think the Solar Auxiliary are ready yet to take, and I definitely don't think they'll be ready by Saturday. But yeah, so going to get another game of Heresy, and I thoroughly enjoyed our last game against Grant's Emperor's Children, which is what I assume I'll be facing again. So looking forward to that. So yeah, bits and pieces of hobby, even with a holiday there. I do recommend taking the models, although always challenging when you go, oh damn, why did I build the guy with the Vexilla and the Vox and stuff, and now I have to stuff them into a bag? Is that going to work? Fortunately, no models were harmed in the recording of this message. But yeah, so bits and pieces, quite enjoyed it. Trying to grab bits and pieces when I can.
Have you got photos of those color schemes on your phone?
I have.
Cool. Post them on Instagram now, as we're talking.
Not on my. I'm going to make a hobby Instagram. I'm not going to post it on my.
Oh, because your current one is so would dilute the content.
Highly curated. Who I'm friends with on that one.
Sure, and they're really missing.
It needs a more curated
fair
friendship
enough.
circle, I think, on that.
Well, we'll work on that then.
But we should do that. I do agree with that.
Yours could become the official Imperial Truth one.
Well, I wonder if with the.
I just use mine. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, you do use it. But I do agree with that as well, particularly with this collab feature. Yeah, I think it's a thing.
Yeah, I'm not having multiple Instagram. I've got multiple Twitter accounts. I've got 2 Facebook accounts of the show. I'm not starting Instagram and Blue Sky and what. It's not happening.
Oh, no, I've given up. I've given up on the X's and the Twitters and of this world. I just thought
Blue Sky's all right.
The text-based ones, it's fine, but just the text-based ones just fine. Tedious. Whereas Instagram is image-based. I'm here for it.
Sure.
So yeah, bits and pieces of hobby. That's where that's been. That's where the focus has been.
Okay, cool. So, well, listener, tell us how you think we can push forwards with this idea for the Instagram and setting ourselves challenges and that kind of thing. Because my problem at the moment is I have half finished squads and things everywhere. Like I never actually finished off my Blood Bowl team. Like it's 3/4 done, maybe 66% done. Realised I probably need to buy 1 player as well, which doesn't help.
That is tedious.
Yeah, but these custodies are a bit done, and there's other stuff around here that's a bit done. So I need to finish stuff. It's the details, I think, that really bugs me, slows me down. So, yeah, and as I say, I think like before I start my Cities of Sigmar, I need to work out how I'm going to paint them. With the Trench Crusade, I need to work out. I actually wanted the new Antioch stuff because there are there's much less detail on them. Like ideally, I think if I like the game, I'll get something for them, whether it's official, whether it's third party, but in that style that's just plainish armor for a lot of the things. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, let us know what you think on that, and we'll work on it. Anything else in the intro? I think that's probably enough. We've wobbled and wobbled and wobbled.
Covered a bunch of things there, haven't we?
As usual.
Let's move on, I'd say.
Indeed. Okie dokie. Right, well, it might only be X amount of days since we released an episode, but we recorded that episode quite early. So there is a little bit of news. Sorry about the delay on the last episode, guys. That was my fault for not reading our emails properly. And we're going, we need to get these models in by X. And, actually, it's quite a long time before they're released.
I'd rather it be that way round than we went, we posted it. Oh, no.
I mean, ideally, we'll be much more prepared in getting these episodes recorded before then, need to rush them out. But that may never happen, so don't hold your breath. So news-wise, we got a new Horus Heresy book coming. Zardu Layak, the Crimson Apostle.
Yeah, that came out of
by Richard McCormick. I don't think I've ever read anything by Richard McCormick, but hey, give it a go.
All for new.
He's an interesting character, isn't he? Like he seemed to just explode out of nowhere, which some people really don't like, but didn't bother me.
I don't hate that as a thing with characters coming in. He was quite significant to sort of come out of left field and be a thing. He had quite a role.
Yeah, well, I think as well because he came out in the Black Books first, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
And then made his way. So it was like, who's this guy in the Black Books? And then people are like, he's not in any books. How's he got in the Black Book kind of thing? And it's like, and then all of a sudden, pivotal in the books. And then people are like, who's this guy? Like, out of nowhere. And it's like, Zardu Layak and the Blade Slaves, or whatever they're called, the first rock band in 40k.
Just say that's sounding wonderful.
Is
band like.
yeah, so an interesting character with quite a story in the build up towards the push for Terra. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if it's going to be his origins or. Spaceman receives visions of their Primarch in their dreams, who can doubt they're destined for greatness. Is he is not ready for the mantle he will wear. So yeah, it's maybe not his first he must travel forgotten world retriever weapon. So how he grows to his position, at least.
Some backstory of who he is, and I think
why.
this idea as well that it just reinforces, which sort of feels like it shouldn't need to be reinforced, but there you go. Horus Heresy is a setting, even though the progressive narrative has reached a conclusion, or it's got a core storyline, if you like, has reached a conclusion with the novel series. They reiterated in another article, which I will touch on in a second, regarding the Scouring, that the Horus Heresy is a setting, and they intend to have books and publish. And indeed, here there's a story to tell of what the basis of Zardu Layak is and who he is and how he came to be where he is. And there you go. There's a story. Let's run with it. And I think that's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Happy
Yeah,
to see them
looking
go
forward
back
to
and
it.
fill in these bits. So I thought that looked cool, and I thought the paint job they had of him, which I don't recall seeing that in that version before, looked super cool.
Absolutely. And then almost following on the heels from that, we had an article about the timeline of the Scouring. And how they work on things and blah blah blah. But it's interesting to see a number of stuff written down here, not necessarily all going to be touched upon in the Scouring series. A small paragraph just before they show that video of, here are a few extracts from our Scouring Master timeline. It's unlikely that all these events will appear either in novel or gaming book form, but they give a hint of things to come. Are they going to do game books for the Scouring? Maybe.
Well, they touched on it somewhere, don't they? They touched on it even more than that somewhere. They sort of say, yeah, we might come to this. This might be a thing. We needed to talk about it. We needed to plan on the basis that this may be a thing.
Absolutely.
And you sort of thought, yeah, that's perfectly sensible. This, I thought, had quite a big impact in the community, should we say. I thought it was quite a lot of people were talking about this. A lot of YouTube people were covering it as if it was a sort of great announcement. I mean, obviously there were the more extreme versions. Games Workshop confirms Scouring game is a go. Like, no, that's not quite where that was going. But in general, I thought this had more impact than I was sort of expecting it to do.
Yeah,
it seemed like it was quite a big deal.
As well as setting things up for any potential future gamer books, it's future proofing.
Potential
like
future game.
I'm sure there's someone pushing for it somewhere. That doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. And there's a lot of heresy to do.
Alternatively, this may well be on the roadmap. It may be something.
Yeah, exactly.
But their development cycle is what it is. I mean, someone may have said, yeah, that is a thing we'd like to explore, either as an expansion or
could you imagine
a game mode, whatever.
We need a third line of Space Marines, which are distinct from the other two Space Marines, so we can sell them and know how many we're selling for the Scouring.
They must not cross the streams. Yes,
exactly.
I agree.
I think there are ways maybe of doing it and releasing books that allow you to fight within the Scouring era without necessarily being a Scouring game is a very different thing from having a Scouring game. And with all the love that Bad Ab's getting at the moment, like doing the same kind of thing for that, lots of potential there. So yeah, future proofing is the thing that GW do quite a lot, and the amount of times it causes people to make these big why have GW put this in here when nothing even does that? It's like, well, because it allows them room in the future to play. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting as well when you get. I mean, there's a lot of discussion around at the moment. There's a lot of fairly substantial rumours regarding what's the future holds for Age of Sigmar as a game system, or specifically as a setting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Now but it is interesting, particularly when you. And I've said on here before several times, I'm a big fan of the work that Jordan's Sorcery's been doing in sort of taking a view, almost like a historian or an archivist or an academic reviewing how the games have developed in relation to the business model or the business practices of the companies behind those games. I find that fascinating, the way he's taken that view. And it's a sort of similar thing with that, and that's why I think on it, because you're absolutely right. Let's produce a whole other completely distinct game system where there will be no crossover, because
Doesn't sound likely, does it?
That's a very difficult business
You
proposition.
wouldn't put your £1 million on it.
No. Whereas the idea of having it sit underneath the Horus Heresy essentially was, yeah, but then that makes it a bit of a problem that the name Horus Heresy, because the scouring comes after the Horus. So you sort of think, well, it's a shame you can't just rename the Horus Heresy as something else, because then you get into that kind of Second World War thing where you have like the early war,
Yeah.
i.e. Crusade era. You've got the Heresy, you've got the scouring. Suddenly, those three eras become early, mid, and late equivalents. If there was another banner for it, if only you could rename it, and it's like, damn, why did we call it Horus Heresy? Or maybe they don't care about that, and they just have, as you sort of say, there, Crusade, Heresy, and scouring. But one of those suggestions over Age of Sigmar is that there's a sort of, calling it a soft reset and whatever, as a way effectively of making it, marketing it in a different way, presenting it in a different way, making it more accessible. I've seen lots of people speculating about lots of different reasons about some
and
big
I'm not
changes there.
not going to get into that too deep, because
indeed,
there are a variety of reasons they could be doing that. What's interesting because talking about community kind of approaches to what GW do and how they do it. I saw people lamenting the death of Age of Sigmar and whatever and all this, and then they're just going to make Warhammer Fantasy Battle again, and they're going to have two games that are they're going to have Warhammer Fantasy Battle and Old World running alongside each other. No, not going to happen. What's really interesting is the idea of the realms being reunited and squashed back into one is actually mentioned right at the start of the Age of Sigmar books as a plan that Sigmar has long term to unite the realms.
Oh, interesting.
So
it was always seeded. Okay.
It was.
Or it was an idea perhaps that was explored.
Yeah,
but
and whether it's seeded or whether it's they've gone and looked and found a way to do it.
Yeah.
The way the law has been, because you look at what's happening in Heresy at the moment, and some of the books, some of the stuff that's being released. Necromunda, probably even better example of law being pulled from 30 years ago and being expanded and updated and brought into light, and yet still having a kind of honouring what was there before in a way that if it was a real timeline, it could be believable. As we said before, go back to World War II and find different accounts of the same battle, and they'll tell you different things, and all of a sudden you could be studying World War II for years, and then you find out about this whole unit you'd never heard of that did this one thing, and it's like there's just so much information about it that it's spread out everywhere, and it's hard to find it all, hard to know it all. So there's space within that to do that without retconning and all those kind of lazy terms, really, because 99% of the time those terms are used, it is a lazy attack. But yeah, anyway, that's the scouring. That's not even Horus Heresy, or is it? So
quite, yeah. So that's what that touches on. But it's a very cool article that I don't think anyone would have predicted. It had quite a lot of meat to it, I thought.
It's not a very standard GW article, and I think like GW give us more articles like that.
Yes, please. Yeah.
But sometimes I suppose the reaction to them can cause issues. So yeah. There was, what have I got here? I've got the community painter's take. The Custodes, obviously yours are the top-notch ones. Colin Ward's, I don't think his troops photograph well.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think when you look at the like you have to zoom in, you have to be studying the actual troops.
Oh, yes, I see what you mean.
The
black,
black,
yeah,
green,
yeah,
black. But when you go down to the Caladius Annihilator grav tank, makes me want to see those models in real life.
Mm-hmm. Agree
Because the
completely.
grav tank, I think it's just the size and the how
The
far away from the
spaces that
model
he has
you
something to
are.
do with it. Yeah, agreed.
It's all of that, but when you can see it on the larger scale model, oh my word! I think Colin absolutely nailed it, and looking different as well. Like
Yeah.
smashed it.
I thought
I mean,
the range of different approaches to them was quite impressive. There was quite a lot, and
yeah,
it was quite likely that quite a few painters were going to try and put their own spin on it. But it was quite cool to see
I
plenty
did
did.
see. I did see some comments on. I think it might be Michael Botcher actually saying that he wasn't. Although the painting is good, it was some of the painters who have previously put out these articles.
Mm.
It's not. Maybe this was slightly below that normal standard.
I see where he's coming from. I get
Yeah,
it.
I sort of do. I think don't get me wrong, there are standout pieces in here, but there are some where you're like, oh really? Did you do that? And I don't know whether that's photography. I don't know whether that's they were doing a whole box and there was a lot going on and they've pushed through it, or another reason.
Having taken them on, they're harder than you imagine. I sort of thought, oh, this is straightforward. Metallics can cover a whole multitude of sins. It's relatively straightforward with metallics. Yeah, well, yes and no. I actually found them quite challenging
I
with
think
color choices and similar. And I wonder if that is an element to that.
And I think if you look at the characters, the lone characters, I think
Yeah.
the quality really is there. And I think
Yeah.
maybe some of the painters who really went to town on it. There's a couple in there that obviously, aren't the same level of standard of painters as the others. But the real like Brennan, Elwin Sturrer, who else we got here? Jose Ramos.
I mean, yeah, Jose Ramos.
Exactly.
Jose Ramos's one was standout. I thought absolutely
Craftworld
stunning.
Studios.
Norris and Crusoe, strong.
Absolutely like stunning. The dreadnoughts, very good. The tanks I thought came out really well. And then again painting 6 of each unit and the models, and maybe I don't know. There's something about it where they don't. Not that they're bad, but sometimes on this you would get some really brilliant examples, and overall it was maybe a step down. But I wonder if that's in part because of trying to paint a whole box of them, thinking, oh yeah, there's only so many, and I can paint them, which I did. So yeah, I'm not calling people out on this, but it was interesting. But yeah, I think the Collins really stands out. But you're right, the like you've got gold and purple, we've got white and gold, we've got black and green, we've got gold, we've got a bronzy gold, you've got black, you've got a green, you've got a purple. It's good to see people.
Recommend to people as well that if you've got some that are sort of catching your eye in particular, I would go and have a look at the associated Instagram accounts or otherwise, because I don't. Speaking of the ones that I put up there, I didn't love where some of the things had adjusted, and by comparison, I'm looking at Angelo DiCello. I think it is Angelo DiCello. His I've seen on Instagram. I follow him separately on Instagram, and they look quite different. And I prefer them. I like them as they are shown in the article. I like them a lot more seeing his own photography of them. There's the sense of gradients that he got with those metallics. Is really quite a bit stronger. Yeah, and the fact that he then also explains that he set himself a challenge of painting the entire box in 48 hours. Yeah, like good, and finding a scheme that would work with that so that he could paint an army. You sort of think that becomes a really fascinating challenge. He achieved that level in 48 hours across the whole lot. You're like, oh my god, that is the way to take on a project. And I really want to know more about that. And so, yeah, if there's some that have caught your eye, do go and follow them on, because I think you get quite a different impression, quite a lot of different information both looking at that. Definitely, the Shield Captain was almost a different caliber, where people had taken that on. Yeah, as you say, with a different mindset where painters knowing that they needed to put in time to get it to the standard they wanted. It was quite an elevated level, I thought, with the Shield Captain.
Yeah, I was just going to look because Richard Gray's got his Shield Captain up and obviously half finished, and it's looking fantastic. I mean, Richard Gray's Richard Gray, so it's all good. Anyway, moving on. New cover for False Gods. I forgot they were re-releasing these a little bit.
I did and I didn't, because I went in to try and get one of the limited editions. No, they're not called limited editions. They're called premium editions, I believe they're called now. Because they're not limited, because they may do another print run.
There is a bloke on eBay with 28 for sale.
There are indeed, and the price has fallen substantially from where it was immediately after. They've gone back to 70 or so now, and as you say, he's got 28 of them. I was not successful. I couldn't get the check. It was interesting. Right. They've got some very different protections, it seems now, on trying to prevent that taking place. Clearly, it was only moderately successful, but it meant at no point could I check out. I couldn't.
Right.
I could get the book into cart, but I couldn't get it.
I think this. I don't know. I don't know how these systems work, but putting something into cart and holding it there. I suppose the problem is if everyone does that and then those people don't buy and then it doesn't sell straight away, and then I suppose there are issues to that. But my word, it would make the experience when you're buying them. You go, I can't put it in my cart. It can't be in. Oh, it's in my cart. Oh, it's still not there. Okay.
I thought all this had gone away with what they were done with the Era of Ruin, where you offer a premium edition, you place your order for it, it'll be there in 3 to 6 months.
2 things sell really well, right? Well, 3 things. Exclusivity. What's the word when you're looking at things in your childhood?
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. That's the word. My word. I keep doing this when I'm tired. Nostalgia and time. Essentially, getting it first.
Yeah.
Those are 3 things. Like people pay extra to get it early or to get it as soon as, and that will always be the case. But hopefully people will realise that after a few days you'll get it for maybe you might pay 20 quid more than you would, but you're not paying double or what have you. Good to see Neil Roberts getting some extra work though, isn't it?
It hadn't occurred to me that they were doing a new cover for each of those 12 books, I think it is, that they've picked out.
Like that.
But particularly to go back and revisit those kind of seminal early titles is pretty cool. And False Gods cover looks great, I thought.
Absolutely. I need to get Neil on the show. I've asked him a number of times. I don't know whether he's not keen or whether he's just busy. I've seen him on other things. We will try and get him on. Anyway, moving on. Adepticon. They had a preview.
Yeah. I was quite excited by this preview. I thought, it's going to be quite a lot. My expectations were higher than I should have allowed them to be.
Okay. So, let's talk about the preview as a whole then. So, what did we get? We got Veta Workshops, got the Mephiston. Kind of cool, but, can't afford one of those. Well, Commissar, we got the new book with Commissar Yarrick and Wazdaka Gutsmech.
Gutsmech, yeah.
Which is cool. We know what's going on. The Fortress of Redemption has taken a bit of a not fortress. What's it called? His old ride called?
It was the Fortress of Arrogance.
Fortress of Arrogance.
I quite enjoyed. Right. There was a meme going around of Fortress of Arrogance showing that original Baneblade converted with Yarrick up there, and it was a whole thing in feature in one of the modelling books, I think it was. And then that said that this was the guard house of flippancy or something. Exactly. That's the scaling down of this thing, but obviously it's not for Yarrick, so he don't get the flashiest ride.
No, it is what it is. Inquisitor Croyle on his weird horse thing, which is quite a cool model. The sister riding the throne.
Throne of Judgment.
Throne of Judgment. It's nice kind of callback to Inquisitor. What's his name? The vehicles. What do you think of the half track and the hippogriff?
Now, I'm a fan because I've been keen for this, because as soon as the Tau Rocks came out many years ago now, I hated it because of the tracks that were on it.
Right.
Because they went, instead of wheels on this thing that looks like a modern day military vehicle, we're going to put little miniature tracks on it. And I just thought, it looks rubbish. But then the third party kits that came along and put wheels or indeed half tracks on it, I thought made it look amazing. And that's essentially what they've done here. They're like, let's take that out and actually make a half track. I think they're so close in terms of their design styling to certain World War II era references. Do I love that? I'm not sure. I feel like it could have gone. It could do with a little extra turning up of the sci-fi or something of that to do it. It's a little too close to the reference.
I think the hippogriff is the biggest culprit. The centaur is there as well, but the hippogriff is the biggest culprit. And my first thought was, I know some World War II fans who are going to love these. And I don't know how many hours later, Darren Pendrag was posting on Instagram about how much he loved these, and I'm like, yeah, of course, he loves World War II. But for me, it's not. I don't know. It blurs the lines with 40k. 40k is supposed to be a bit wacky, a bit crazy. They're not bad models. Don't get me wrong. They might grow on me a little bit, but just a smidge too much realism in there, I think.
Yeah, that's probably the issue. I think it's a smidge too much realism of a particular era, no less.
Yeah. I think so. What was it? The Guard House of Flippancy. It's like.
I quite like that. I kind of like that.
It's over the top.
That to me is where they've gone a bit further with it. I quite like it.
It's fine. It's fine. Like, it's not bad. I don't dislike it. It is mad, which is cool. Yarek's great. Gutsmech's great.
Gutsmech doesn't quite do it for me personally, but
enough.
then Ulks I find are funny ones for that.
Sure.
I don't know.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, that's it really.
That's cool. So, okay, release. Like, cool. There's some good stuff in there. New trailer for Aeronautica Imperialis. Cool. Have a show about the game that you killed off. That's fine, but it looks good. So don't worry about that. Kill Team, new way to play Kill Team. Go and hunt a big bug with some new.
I did love that. I mean,
the big bug is amazing.
All of their Tyrannid stuff that they're releasing is incredible. But I liked the Red Terror. I went in fairly hard on Tyrannids when they did the Red Terror the first time round. It was 3rd edition, I think it was.
Sure.
Yeah, where they basically made Tyranids what they are now, and Jez Goodwin went. They let them be shot at him, and he did everything. Red Terror existed then. I've had I converted Red Terror for decades, I suppose. So to see that and to see that they'd really gone to town with it, this big old beastie, you're like, yeah, big fan.
And the Cadian, not Last Chancellors, not Gaunt's Ghosts.
Cadian Special Forces.
They're cool. There's some really good models in there. Obviously, Kill Team, how useful that is in 40k, but for Kill Team, that's cool. I like the idea of playing this kind of mission against big things. I think it's another reason to sell an Amble and an Archivist. Fair play, cool. If you're Kill Team player, is it what you want in terms of a new kind of setting? No, but a new way of playing. The core hardcore Kill Team players might not like that, but I think for everyone else it could be pretty cool.
Would you have preferred that those guard models be a different regiment, or do you think it's
doesn't bother me?
You don't have a view either way.
No,
one point of discussion I've seen that I thought was interesting.
So the problem being, if you make from GW Financials, if you make them a different unit, that what you're going to make them. You can make them. They've got Krieg already. Make them Catachans, but then the old Catachans need redoing if you're going to do that, because they really look strange against them. Then you're into one of the lesser known ones. And then how do they fit into your army if you want to use them in your army? So no,
unless, much like with the Krieg, unless you use them as a sort of starter.
But then how many different guard regiments can you have on sprue in shop?
with sufficient models to cover a range. I
However,
kind of
might
agree.
as well bring it up now. You could do it because they're bringing the Mordian upgrade set. They haven't confirmed it, have they? But they've all but confirmed.
Do you mean Mordian or do you mean
not Mordian,
Steel Legion?
Steel Legion.
Well, yeah,
So,
there's a lot of people doing what the internet tends to do. Oh, look, another win for the angry people on the internet. I'm not convinced that was the case. There's some speculation that as a result of them saying we're not going to do Steel Legion, there's a lot less of them now. So here's how you paint Krieg as Steel Legion, which I was fine with, by the way. I thought you've kind of done greatcoat-ish, or coated infantry with a steel helmet. You've got a basis for that. Just make Steel Legion that anyway. Just a slightly shorter coat and a slightly different helmet. Is it enough to warrant a complete new range? I'm not sure. So I was kind of fine with it. I thought just count the Krieg as that and just paint them in a different color and say that's the regiment that it is. That didn't seem to be the way people wanted to take it, and there was quite an outroar. And as a result, people are saying that as a result of that, some sketches were quickly done and it was put on the roadmap for them to come along in 2 years. I find that very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they might have. There's a cynical part of me that wonders if they used it as a way to test. Are people? We've got these drawings here. Are we going to do them, or do we know how much? But then that's not a. It's also that reaction is not a proper judgment of what a community will buy. So, but they can do upgrade sprues like they do with the Space Wolf sets, 40k and things like. They must know how well those sell to know that if they sell as well as the whatever upgrade sprue set we does, then we can afford to do it. And then therefore you could have a handful of different leads. Could you put the Praetorians in one of them? I don't know. So there is that as well. And this is doing this for a reason, but we will rush through it. So Lumineth Realm Lords for Warband for thingy, cool. Yes, they're not getting rid of Warhammer Underworlds yet, and have some Lumineth. Fine. Exactly, fine. Lord of the Rings, cool. I've heard some interesting chat recently about a certain person who I don't think understood what he was looking at with GW financials and believed YouTube videos too much, who basically said that GW don't make money off models and Lord of the Rings doesn't make money. And I'm like, well,
of course not.
Yeah. And if it didn't make money, they wouldn't be doing it, frankly. Also, it's not just about making money. It's about they don't know this. The Lord of the Rings community is a separate community a lot of the time from all the other game systems. There are people who only do Lord of the Rings.
That was a view that was echoed by Arbiter Ian, who put a video out because he attended the Adepticon preview in person. Yeah, he was there, and he reflected on that, and he said he has been playing a lot of Middle Earth strategy battle game recently and enjoying it with his gaming group. It suddenly reveals itself that there's a whole other fandom there, and it's a massive thing and it's its own thing. And he saw that in the preview as well, the way people were reacting, which I thought was interesting. I would recommend his video on that.
The amount of people who I know from working at a GW store or for being around them or seeing videos online who only ever walked into a Warhammer store as they are now because there were Lord of the Rings figures in the front.
Yeah,
the only thing that got them in. And then we got 40k new edition. Didn't show us much. Cool. We knew it was coming. Yeah, great, brilliant. And then some new Skaven, but Cities of Sigmar with everything, like way more than I thought there would be, except for spells. Really annoying they're not getting spells. But loads of cool stuff, way more than I could afford to buy, all in one go. A Cogfort, which 40k Orc players are going to love, which potentially Adeptus Mechanicum players could love. There's a basis there to do stuff. They can be used for any army in Age of Sigmar, and they will be. I've seen people using AI mocking up undead ones and tree ones and
Yeah,
stuff.
I've heard that. I've heard people saying like the idea is like a Skaven one and stuff. It's
It's
quite a
so
cool idea.
easy, cool to do, and it's a huge model. Like they're going to want it, make it as available to everyone as possible. But it's crazy, and yet just using the legs off that as a basis for a mech walker thing is going to be awesome. There's going to be people doing amazing stuff with them. The new mages are phenomenal. Properly phenomenal. I like the gate guys. I like the character is brilliant with his panther. I like the priest. I like all of that. And then heresy, we got what we get with heresy. Oh, that's in the wrong bit. We got some heavy bolters on the Land Raider.
The fact that was sort of put forward as a new model, I thought
that was a push,
and
wasn't it?
Quite a lot of people like reviewing it, going, people who are part of the community were going, "Oh, that's a cool release." I'm like, surely, surely everyone realised that was a thing. We saw these sprues come out with the big tanks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The other half going, why are they showing us a model that's already been released?
Yeah.
Oh, they've changed some guns. Oh, okay.
You've taken the sprues from that model, which were clearly always interchangeable with everything, and you just put them in the box with that one. Okay, cool. And
showing it as a preview is the cheeky bit, right?
Yeah, I thought that was just make it make the sprue available.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But the Charonite Ogrins,
they were cool.
They're cool. Again, great to get them in plastic. It makes them much more affordable. The Rapier fire support battery we all knew was coming because we know all this is coming. But you know what I mean? They were taken off sale and everything.
Did the mole mortar exist before in this scale?
No, but the other, I meant generally the Rapier platform being taken off. But no, I don't think it did.
Okay.
Good old mole mortar. Super cool. The fact that I think I might have said it that we're going to get told what the next book is. Part 1 of the Battle of Talon.
Of that. Yep.
Interesting. We focus on one of the biggest battles of the Horus Heresy, so we don't get told. Stay tuned for later in this episode when we talk about 1 million tanks. But yeah, good to get that in again. A part 1. Are we going to get part 2 of? Have they done that just to leave it open? Have they got specific plans to come back and do stuff? I'm sure they have. But
very cool.
Interesting that they're moving on before
as well.
Yeah,
and particularly given the level of detail, because I still find this sort of back and forth between Heresy, Age of Darkness, Horus Heresy, and what they're doing with Legions is fascinating, because we had obviously a very detailed.
Yes,
it is, yeah. But then you've got in the background, you've got the Vanquishers.
That's what I mean. I was looking in the background. You've got the plasma gun. I can't remember the name of.
The Executioner. That's the one up in
front.
Is that
the Executioner? What's the one with the twin las cannons?
That is the Annihilator.
Annihilator. That's the one. Cool. And then at the back, you've got a nice little.
You've got some basilisks, and you've got the Vanquishers. Yeah, it just looks great so cool. As a little force, then with the scale of the Titans and stuff. It's fascinating to see that, given you had the Devastation of Talon book, which is going to be. But we've had this before, where it covered at different scales. You've got the grand strategy of Legions Imperialis, and then it zooms in a bit on this one. So, kind of like that back and forth. These are quite distant from each other in terms of release.
Yeah. Definitely interesting. And when we get to review this one, which hopefully we will, GW will send us it for review. I might have to get out some of the older stuff to actually go back, because unlike what we're going to talk about the Ruin of Salamanders, it was quite close to the other one. So okay, so that's all the stuff we were shown. What did you think of the reveal show? Not the show, because I'm not going into audio issues.
No, there's a whole
apparently they had problems at the actual venue.
And I think on the stream as well. The stream was guarded.
The stream
poorly,
and the venue, I think, and everything. Yeah. What do you think of the reveals? Should we say?
The obvious thing to comment on is that Sigmar stole the show. The Age of Sigmar reveals, which they continue to have a bit of a challenge with these things because of the way the rumor mill sort of goes, and the way their own promotion of it builds up. The biggest one of the year. This is the big. I mean, they always say this is the big one. This is, you don't want to miss it. And you're like, yeah, okay, I get you have to promote it, but if you keep saying it's the biggest, the best we've ever done, it sort of loses something of it, and the expectations become sky high. Do you continue to just ignore what people? Even that's a bit dramatic. Is it something you could just be aware of that people are going to speculate you're probably going to announce? Like, assume people aren't idiots. It's probably fairly easy to work out you're probably going to announce new 40k at this, and it's probably going to follow a similar.
You mean like they did Heresy last year?
Well, indeed, yeah, fair enough. But
there is,
it's still a thing, isn't it? You sort of think, this follows the way they announced. Equally, people were saying, "Oh, this was outrageous that they didn't show more of the launch box." Well, this follows the same pattern that they followed with Leviathan, where you show off the basic troopers of the box first individually, and then slowly drip feed the rest. So there was a level of expectation I thought was quite high, myself included, and then Age of Sigmar absolutely ran with it, with sort of hit after hit after hit. Even the Spearhead box that comes out now, which is like a mini new launch box for Age of Sigmar. You got amazing new Skaven models mixed in with the amazing new Cities of Sigmar guys in their own box set as a almost standalone game, in addition to this like incredible Cities of Sigmar range and a major kit. Just like, where did that come from? Everyone thinking the focus is going to be on 40k.
I knew, I didn't know. I'd called, I think maybe last episode, I called Cities of Sigmar, we're going to get the second wave here.
Yes.
There were rumours of the Cog Fort. I didn't know what to expect with that, or even to assume it was coming. I think the quality, I'm not... Erasmus Zond, the guy riding the winged beast, I need to see that model in person. I don't think it's bad. It just needs to... I'm not like, wow. The two mages, particularly the Fire Mage, what a model. I think it's probably going to be limited. You're going to see some at Golden Demons, I think. I think the fact that it's probably got this golden angle for photography means you won't see as many as I initially thought. I think that's got a potential issue there. I love the Gate Gargants. I think they're brilliant. The Pepperbox guns on top. Even the scenery's cool. And it's a bit bland, but it's cool. I say the character's amazing. The priest is awesome. The gallants, they're over the top.
The basic troops are pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the grenadiers are awesome. Loads of different looking dudes. Smashed it out of the park. The only thing we didn't get as a faction was Endless Spells, but there's an argument that that's not unusual for them. I don't know. It felt, looking at it here, it's like, it's cool, but it's not like, I don't know. I feel like previous years have been bigger overall.
I think it's because we've had a run. I was thinking about this the other day. We've had a run of very good previews where every item seemed to be a big deal and really hit its stride. Now, that might be because the expectation was that much less. I don't know. I find it a bit difficult when you've got a preview and they're including in that preview things like a trailer or generic animation and a Weta Workshop model that, I would have thought has got a very niche appeal to people. It's immensely expensive. It's a huge physical thing to have.
I think they need them to sell.
Yeah, fair enough. But you're like, is this the forum for that? And that takes up a thing. The Heresy releases, they're good. Are they major landmark preview, or are they a Thursday reveal, or are they a Monday reveal? I think they're the latter. I don't think they're. Yeah, there have been other previews where every single. Yeah, exactly. 40k didn't actually have that much of a reveal. It's like, here's a trailer, and here's an announcement that a game is coming, and there's a launch box, because of course there is. Nothing. Well, no, that's not true, because we had the Arak in those vehicles. I'm talking rubbish. They did have the Armageddon stuff, but
I wonder if the timing of the reveal.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Yeah,
26th of March. So next year it's like 7th of April or something like that. there's rumours that we're seeing Perturabo being revealed soon. I don't know how true that is, 40k, but if it
It's
is
artwork.
true, yeah, if it is true, has this just come too early to put Perturabo in this reveal because the previous, the books aren't ready yet? Is the fact that they acknowledged 40k is getting a new edition, they've acknowledged it before that, mean that preview doesn't hit as hard? And therefore, because we know what's happening, because Perturabo can't be there, like the 40k review is a couple of tanks and 3 characters, and then a big model for Kill Team, which we'll assume will get rules in 40k. SA Age of Sigmar got a big reveal. No Old World as well, which is potentially a big. Did it just fall in a bad time? Like you've had some before Christmas. You had the chaos for Old World. You had Cathay. Like, has it just been a bit of unfortunate timing / they're getting ready for 40k? If it wasn't a 40k year, does this happen? I wonder if that's a thing. But I woke up, I looked through all this, I was like, that's cool, and then I just looked at Age of Sigmar for about 2 days.
Yeah. The Age of Sigmar stuff felt like it was sort of worthy. It seems a bit strong, but of this, whereas everything else only just, and I don't think the Heresy was much there. She said this. Like when Cathay was announced, that was but on both occasions when Cathay, it was like that was a knock it out the park kind of thing, like hit after hit after hit. Yeah, I agree with you. I think standing head and shoulders above everything else was Age of Sigmar. Everything else just looked a bit tame by comparison, which I think is a timing issue. I'm just checking my own thinking there to make sure that I'm just not that excited about 40k at the moment. And so
I don't think so, because I think even if you weren't excited about 40k, but they showed you, I don't know, what army needs some love.
Grey Knights.
Grey Knights, yeah. If they came out and went, here are 2 units and a character, like they did with the Space Wolves, 2 units and a character of reproportioned Grey Knights, new models, right? That would be a big reveal. Like the Space Wolf one, Space Wolves are very popular.
That was a big deal.
They did show us a lot, but it was a big. They showed us what 3 units and a character,
something like that. I remember us commenting, thinking, "Oh, shame they didn't show." Well, that they're clearly holding back a second wave or something. We did comment on what they showed, the amount.
But it was enough to really make you. I don't look at any of the 40k stuff here and go, "Oh, I can't wait to see what's next."
No.
Like, even that starter set box is like, I'm sure there's going to be cool stuff in it. I like the fact they're not walking back Primaris, but they're kind of refining how they're going to portray Primaris going forward. So, you certainly can. It is going to be much more aligned to older marks of armor, which is cool. But there's nothing to get your teeth into with 40k. Even the promise of something to get your teeth into, really. Because again, that starter set is going to have cool orcs in it. The orcs are probably the cool thing. The Marines are going to be push fit, cool Marines. Yeah, we've seen that a million times. Not a bad thing, just doesn't get your blood flowing. So yeah, it was an interesting one. I know Dave Witek, Garage Hammer, he said, the hall was big. They had to turn people away, I think. And he was like, it was too hot in there. I went back to my hotel room, and watched it from there. I was actually up quite late that night. I think had I done a run? And I was like, oh, no, I'm going to bed. And
I was of 2 minds. I was like, oh, I'm quite excited about this. I'm quite excited about what's going to be. I ended up waking up just as it finished, I think it was.
Right.
As it was. And because I was half tempted to stay up and ended up sort of falling between 2 stools, and it paid for it the next day. But I sort of went through it and went, oh, yeah, okay. I wasn't blown away by it, whereas the previous 3 or 4 previews, I'd been like, oh, okay, this is really exciting.
you're going to get one that's not as good as the others.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm just trying to think. I think it was like it's falling into a natural dip in their release schedule, whether that's planned or or has happened for other reasons. And I think 40k edition might be part of that. What'll be interesting next year is how are the timescales moving on releases? Lots of talk that maybe Old World / other games could have their own release within a 4-year cycle, which I think would be, as a purchaser of models and rules, would be much better. Tournament players might say that 4 years is too long for like rules changes to build and bloat and whatever. There's an argument of that. I don't know, but certainly to not have 40k, a release of 40k, and therefore end of edition books of 40k, which aren't the same as releasing codexes, to have their time is a bit different. Anyway, cool. We better crack on. We have talked a lot about not a lot. Congratulations to former co-host Neil Hollis for winning the podcast Another Golden Demon Gold. He has got to the point where he just perfects Space Marines, I think. I don't think there's, it's a nice touch on the base with this little razor fin, whatever it's called, swimming around. But yeah, the man paints Space Marines perfectly.
What did you think overall of Golden Demon?
So, really good, I think. I heard the cabinets weren't as full because of maybe not as many people, particularly in Europe, traveling over. But when I look down here, it looks amazing. All the entries. What do you think?
I was quite taken with it. I thought the range of styles continues to be the standard was
ironically
very, very high.
I literally saw someone that said, "Oh, look, shows you have to paint like GW style," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Absolutely not.
There are winners in every single. That you look through any of the winners of anything, single thing. Let's look at Unit or Warband for Age of Sigmar. They are all three of them are completely different from each other. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. I mean, it's obviously, I'm never going to be able to paint that well. It's one of them. But yeah, there's such variety on show, I think, at this one.
I agree. The only thing I sort of find intriguing is that the standard is so high. The effort required to be in this level now, and I find it fascinating that there are continuing to be enough of a community who are prepared to put in the work that is necessary to be at this level. I mean, these categories are so strong. I'm quite a fan of the guy who painted the guy who won gold, Lucas Holmstrom.
Is he the one from Squidmar?
Yeah, exactly. He's the co-host of Twitter. He won gold in large model, and the way he sort of covered his journey on this with the previous win that he had and gone on to win this now, he's done better than he did last time with this win. There's 400 hours he put into that model to get to that level, and you think, and there's people who have won golds or even Slayer sort of spending 800 hours. These are serious dedication to do this. And just looking at some of these, you think that's the kind of level that this has got to. That it's extraordinary. The amount of work that you have to put to, the commitment and discipline, etc.
Bearing in mind, he won
apart from talent.
Yeah, and he won a number of Golden Demons, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He got silver in Open, and I think there might have been one other as well. But yeah, you're right. Andy on the Cult of Paint stream, he talked about like this was going to be his last Golden Demon for a while. He's going to paint stuff for other competitions.
Oh, interesting.
Because otherwise he's just painting like one model for a long time in one setting. He's got other stuff he wants to paint, so he needs a break, kind of thing. You can completely understand why. But yeah, like I don't know. It's just it's mind blowing to me.
It is.
The quality is. There's always been good painters. for sure. But it feels like it's getting harder and harder. I see people saying, "How did this model not even place?" And it's like, well, at some point you are just looking for mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you're really nitpicking on stuff, because how do you judge some of these models against each other?
There was a very interesting story, I think it is, behind Daniel Jolene, who won gold in Necromunda.
Right.
He's got
Oh
a
yes, I
fairly
saw.
stock model, and he painted it quite quickly, certainly compared to other people who were winning a gold statue.
Right.
He painted it relatively quickly, but he did it as like a gift for a friend of his, and the likeness is almost uncanny. I mean, same hairstyle. It's
It
sort of
really
a
is.
friend of his,
Yeah.
and a friend of his who'd also entered Golden Demon, but had done something that was a little bit out there, and then had been told, no, you can't continue with this piece because it's not representative of the law, which is one of the core rules of the competition.
Yeah.
So, the guy posted about it and said that he was completely touched that his friend had put this in for him. And it's just that was a cool little story behind some of these things as well. But the standard is just consistently so high; it's extraordinary.
And not just that, like you look at the storytelling in some of the models as well. It's these are art pieces, like
entirely
more than just the painting. Like the way that you might be able to paint, but can you make a piece of art as a difference to being able to paint? Like
the other Lucas in the Golden Demon thing, I saw the two of them posing together about that. Lucas Zaba, who won gold in the old world, that Bretonian Pegasus with the splashing dark waves beneath it. Talk about miniatures as art, which I think Monument Hobbies did a whole subset of Adepticon about miniatures as art. This isn't just you're painting your Warhammer figures. This is sculpture. This is an art form in and of itself. I thought that was fascinating.
And let me make sure, not that you have to paint to that level to make your miniature art.
No, entirely not. No, agreed.
The art comes from making the miniature. No, is painting a miniature art? Sure, it's art. Like you are painting onto a surface. It just happens to be a 3D model that someone else has designed, and you're painting it.
Yeah,
and you can have art within that.
There is a creative endeavor by virtue of almost any aspect of what you do on the hobby. Yeah,
like the level of then taking something and creating a story around it to elicit something more. Like that's what I mean, and it definitely feels like that's happening across the scheme, man. And that's before don't even start me on the Youngbloods. But there we go.
I know.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Right, we have this episode is going long. Sorry, carry
on. Just lastly, that piece by Alexei Karahliu. Oh god, I'm murdering it. Bronze in Warhammer 40,000 single, a custodian stepping onto one of the 40k bikes, the Virtus Praetor things. An incredible piece. One I would love to see in reality, because there's this very clever use of the way the model is composed to make it look like the jet bike is flying. But apparently behind that, I've seen the guy posting about it. He had an absolute nightmare of an experience. Just getting to Adepticon, it turned into some absolute odyssey of a journey to get there. The model was in pieces, kind of hours before the event, and something. The piece almost got destroyed in something. He was having to use a power drill to go into the base at some point in the process of this. It sounds like a real story, so it kind of makes you intrigued to know what the story is behind a bunch of these pieces. I'm sure some of them are, I painted it and I took it and I entered it, but others have got some really interesting stories behind them. So yeah, would encourage people to go and look through.
Last thing, Neil texted me, however long ago, said, Greg, is there any law reason why Space Wolves might have like red on them? And I was like, well, not specifically. I don't believe there's anything, but I've been thinking about having red hands, and like you can attach it to all these kind of different reasons. He was like, okay, good, cool. So saw the little red fingers. I was like, yep, that's my part of the Golden Demon model. Golden Demon trophy.
Nice. In the post.
It's all good. We might have to get him on the show actually and talk through. Kind of just how he gets to the point where he's just so comfy painting that a Space Marine, and in his style, because it's very definitely his style as well. Like when people talk about this, it's like, he's doing things differently from other people, and they're doing things differently from other people. Anyway, let us move on. Cool. Well, I'd like to welcome back to the show Mr. John French. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really well. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. That's what
Not
we
too
like
bad.
to hear. Brilliant. And we're getting you on. Obviously, we've got the Drop Site Massacre out recently, but we're going to look back a little bit at your heresy journey, shall we say? This is part of the program I tried to start over a year ago. It took a long time to get Mr. Dan Abnett on, and then it's a leisurely pace, shall we say?
It's a long-term project. Yeah.
Oh yeah, isn't it just getting hold of Black Library authors, or getting all the jumping through the hoops for Black Library authors, shall we say? And that's not their fault. No, let me put that out there. So yes, take us back to, you're in the hobby, you're working at GW, you're writing stuff. How do you get involved with the Horus Heresy novels? What's your kind of journey through that?
So really, I got, I just sort of like finished up doing stuff for the 40k RPG games that were done at that time. Like there was a RPG called Deathwatch, and I just finished up on that. And so I thought, right, okay, I've always wanted to be a Black Library writer, so I'm going to start trying to do that. So I did. I got in contact with them and put some pitches in and went through jumped through all of the various hoops and gates and over the gates and under the gates and all sorts to get in. And I'd done 2 stories for them, 2 short stories. And I was talking to my editor and he was talking about the Horus Heresy. And offhand, he said this comment about how they needed to figure out what was going to happen with the Remembrances. And this was around the time in the novel series where novels like Legion, First Heretic had come out. We're sort of in that time period. So about 10 or so novels had come out, 10, 11, I think it was. Yeah. And it's really rare when you're a writer that you just have an idea almost fully formed in real time, and it just sort of happens. It's not really like that. But on this occasion, he said that, and it was like that for me, luckily, in real time. And I just had this idea, and I said, well, I've got an idea for that. So, luckily, he actually said, oh, what's that? And so I gave him this idea. And Horus Heresy, the writing team on the novels is by invite. And normally it was by a very sort of rigorous pathway of, you've done multiple novels for them. You've demonstrated that you can write Space Marines, that you can deal with the material. It's all this kind of stuff. And it's not really for somebody that's just done 2 short stories to pitch a short story for the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. And the editor, Christian Dunn, at the time, heard the pitch and said, all right, write it, no guarantees. And that short story became the short story Last Remembrancer, which is in the Age of Darkness anthology. And that was my 3rd short story for Black Library.
Wow. Back in 2011. Well, that's when it was released.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And then that was kind of how I got in. because then I was writing for the Horus Heresy. I'd done this short story. It was in Age of Darkness, alongside all the rest of the established heresy authors and some of these other new guys who are coming in, called like Chris Wright and a few other people.
Chances, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And from there, I started doing other novels for Black Library, but from that point on, I was kind of on the team. I'd been in the anthology. So then they asked me to do the novella that would become Crimson Fist, which about Sigismund and Electus Pollux and the Imperial Fist. It's one of the first longer pieces of Horus Heresy fiction about the Imperial Fists. And then just kept on rolling from there.
Sure.
And the other strand of it as well is that I think once done a bit more on the heresy. I'd done some audios like Grey Angel, and I think I'd done the first Child Night, and I'd done the first Talon novella. I think Executioner. It might not have been released, but I'd written it. And at the same time as that, Forge World, as it was at the time, had started to quietly spool up the Horus Heresy miniatures game.
Yeah.
Under the lead heresy writer at that time, who was Alan Bligh, who many people I'm sure will know, some people may not. He unfortunately passed away in 2017. But he was a very, very good friend of mine. So when I was working on RPGs and everything like that, we wrote together. We were a writing team, and so he basically said to me, "Would you come in and give some a hand on spooling that up? That first book, the legendary Black books that Forge World produced. Would you come in and do some of the writing on that?" So I did. So I was doing that at the same time.
I think it's important to just jump in there. I think that's quite important to say, because so often, I mean, it happens when someone dies as well, unfortunately. But Alan was such a kind of name. There was a legend around Alan, which, wasn't necessarily unjustified, but it became Alan's Black Books. And, as you say, you were there right from the start. And I've had to point this out to people. I'm like, look, people jumping in now and writing different stuff. It's happened all the way through.
Yeah.
It's not been, for all that Alan was a force of nature in terms of his writing, I'm not undermining any of that, but there were other voices. And Neil's still working, isn't he? Neil's gone all the way through, from book 2.
Absolutely. And he was a force of nature, and he was an incredible writer, and he was a great friend. But he would also want to point out that it was, it was more than just him. In all of that mix and for the run. So it's
Yeah, and we were lucky enough to hear him talk about Library Weekenders, and that was, it was very obviously came across. And God rest his soul, because he was I couldn't say I was a friend of Alan. I met him enough times to know that he had a wicked sense of humour. Particularly. And he was great fun to be around. And certainly the trip around Salute, whenever it was, showed some of that, which was and also showed I just remember these two guys kind of walking past, and I was just behind Alan, and as soon as they got past him, that's Alan Bligh. Which was great to see. It was really good. But so you all the way back on the first Black Book, you were there writing.
Yes.
So when you and I think this. It's quite important sometimes. I say important, as in, as important as these things can be. That sometimes people read an author. They, we all have different connections with authors. There's certain authors other people like that I'm not a fan of, and all that stuff, and that happens. But stuff gets bandied about very easily. Oh, this person doesn't know this. This person, they've only written this. They've only written that. You were there on none of the black books get criticised for the background, for anything in them really, except for maybe some of the rules balances. But you know, all that you're doing with your books as well, you're doing that as well. So it's quite a large kind of body of work you've got there. Even as you say, at the point where you know Talon isn't even released yet, and your first Heresy novel is some way off.
Yeah, the first Heresy novel is it's coming down the. It's probably, I think, my first Heresy full novel was Praetorian of Dawn.
2016.
Yeah, 2016. So written, I would have written it in 2015, I think, from memory. That sort of rings about right. And so that's still, at this point, a good 2 or 3 years in the future. And before that point, I did more on the more stories set across all of the Heresy, really. More audios as well. More short stories, lots of short stories. So the run up to that first novel really was about 5 years. About 5 years in which I was doing stuff for Black Library and doing stuff for Forge World. So jumping between the two.
Just jump back in time a little bit. So you've got this remembrance, the last remembrance. Were you pulled into the High Lords at that point? Were you in the room at that point, or was that kind of put out there and then brought in?
How it worked, it really it sort of changed through time because I have to pinch myself every now and again how long how long a period of time we're sort of talking about. So I think I first read Horus Rising. I think I got an early copy. I was really lucky. End of 2005, maybe New Year of 2006. And we were 5 years into it by this point of that process. So, and then, no one knew it at the time, but we were looking at another 7 or 8 years before the siege, process started and so on. But how all of those kind of teams that worked, it sort of changed. At the time when I wrote The Last Remembrancer, basically it was kind of like convened. It was a bit like it was a bit like the Inquisition almost. I think not in a kind of like like people asking questions, but people were pulled in as needed, really.
Sure.
Now and as needed was really whether you were likely to be writing something that had impact on something that somebody else was writing, or a crucial beat in the story, or it was the next thing up. Or sometimes I think there was a meeting round about that time, which 2011, 2012 might have been, where they basically got all of the wider base of the authors in. So I remember it being a very long meeting, and because there were just so many people there, it was I think one of the biggest ones sort of ever. Everyone was. They pulled in basically everybody, including me, but also the other authors who were just starting into writing the next, if you like, era of the Heresy. So Chris and a bunch of the other people as well, like Rob as well, and so on at that time, were pulled in, and so it was just a huge meeting. But then you didn't go to all the meetings back then, because if you weren't writing something that was that hit something else, or if you weren't doing something that was like imminent, then you might not come along. That sort of like changed over time, and then it became much more kind of like, this is so for example, by the time we get to the siege, it's kind of like, no, this is the room, and the room is always there. Everyone is in the room.
That's
cool.
Excellent. So, well, we might as well jump into a few bits here. There's some obvious questions that people need to ask. You need to provide answers for, sir. First off, well, not saying you haven't provided answers, but we live in a world where people question the truth.
Of course, yeah.
We'll jump. I mean, I could talk forever about some of these short stories. Keys of Hell.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
the most underrated stories in the whole of the Heresy.
Thank you.
People
Yeah.
overlook that one so much. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just overselling it. Who knows? But yeah, I could talk about lots of these short stories, and there was. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on. Praetorian of Dawn.
Yep.
The one event is Alfarius dead.
Yes, as I'm pretty certain I put in the afterword.
Yeah, it was in the book. As I said, just
yep.
We've recorded this interview a couple of times, listener. My fault. Hold my hands up. But so if we talk in a way sometimes where there's something like, oh, what do they know? Like we've done this before. I reread that section twice, 2-3 times, just to kind of like, oh, shock. Because it was end of a page, I think, in the hardback as well, which is always a great place to have a shock. So it's like, hold on, flip back. Did I push 2 pages? Did I misread something? What has happened here? Make sure I get it right. And then in the afterwards, you basically confirm it.
Yes.
Not enough for some people.
Yeah.
Whether that's an illness of our generation and what we've been dealt with, I don't know. But yeah, Alfarius, he killed Alfarius.
Correct. Yes.
Not to say that shenanigans can't happen in the future. It's 40k after all. But
the thing with one of those things, and I think one of the reasons it's do you know what? It's totally understandable. People going, "Oh, is it?" Because we spent a part of the Alpha Legions, the way they operate, and their appeal, and the way we tell the stories. It's all saturated with ambiguity. Is it this? Is it that? What are they doing? Are they doing this? And this is one of those few moments where it's a hard moment of truth. And so, of course, you get, and it was. I tried to write it as like, literally like a hard moment of truth, like coming down like out of like a cleaver. And that's quite shocking. But also, then of course, what you do is you go, well, what just happened? What did that? But and of course, all the context for the rest of what the Alpha Legion do and the rest of the story, to be honest, is ambiguous. So I get it. I get why.
And to be fair to some people,
laugh about it.
Possibly over ambiguous at times in the history of the Legion and how it's been written. There's been sometimes where it's felt, and but it's come across a little bit over convoluted.
Well, I think that's part of their character. I mean, if we're talking about the Black Books again.
Yeah.
I didn't write the Black Books entry for the Alpha Legion, but in that it goes to great lengths to talk about how they make war. They do this. It's not just intricate plans. It's ambiguity and chaos with a small c, is what they do. They create chaos, and then their entire thing is sorting through the chaos faster than anybody else can. And then wherever they come out at, they'll call victory. That is their methodology. That's their fundamental core methodology. And it goes into part of like that. Some of the oldest background about them, which is, that they're martial pride, and they believe basically they're better than others. And so they have this utter confidence that they can make it through, that they can make that they can unravel any situation and then find a path through that, and then be able to succeed in whatever their objective is, or be able to find an objective literally in what they're doing and go, that's great, that'll suit what we're doing. And what we're doing is they operate in really broad concepts. That's the other thing with the Alpha Legion. is that, they might have this parameter, they might have that parameter operating on a unit level or something else, but they work in really broad concepts. Things like destabilize. We're not talking more specific than that. That's just an example.
Sure.
So the objective of an Alpha Legion commander on a planet might be just destabilize. That's it. One word. Off you go.
I'll accept that rebuttal. That's fair. And I don't think I've ever heard it explained quite that way. And I suppose that makes a lot of sense. That it's, as you say, when you're so vague with what you are doing, anything can be claimed a victory. As required.
Yeah.
To further your cause. Yep, fair play. So he's dead, as we say, in 40k. There are, we know Primarchs have been cloned. We know other stuff's happened. We can't deal with any of that. We're dealing with the story we've got here. Okay, moving on a little bit. We have. Let's jump to. Just have a little thing. Do you regret 10 million tank?
What, the phrase 10 million tanks?
10 million tank. Talon, the battle of 10 million tanks.
So the background, for those that don't know, I did a lot of research when I was writing Talon, and there was a figure, I think it's in the 2nd edition Codex Imperial Guard, which talks about how Talon was the largest armoured engagement ever, and there were 10 million tanks on Talon during the Battle of Talon. And I said this, but, produced this phrase during, I think it was a Heresy weekend or a Black Library weekend. And of course, it just snagged, became a hashtag and all sorts. And then, I sort of did regret it a bit. And I think I put that in an afterword as well, because it's like the expectation was then that when I wrote the stories that it would be wall-to-wall tanks all the time. And there are a lot of tanks in those books.
Oh.
But it's not 10 million tanks all in one go. So it's one of those kind of accurate things. It's an accurate fact, but I wish I'd said it sort of there were 10 million tanks.
9 million of those tanks are off screen. Doing their thing. Absolutely. Correct. In fact, been written about in black books and the new formats as well, which is where that probably fits a little bit better. Staying with Talon, I have an interesting relationship with Perturabo, should we say?
Okay.
Having read through the series, we get Graham in Angel Exterminators particularly making Perturabo a little bit sympathetic. Not quite the right word. Sympathetic is not quite the right word, but almost justifiable in his actions. And then we get the Perturabo story, the Primarch story, written by Guy, where Perturabo got everything he deserved. He asked for it even. But I found Talon, should I say? One of my favorite. The other favorite moment is in the Solar War, but his kind of acceptance of finding what he found on Talon and his reaction to it was this is the Perturabo that could have been. How did you find approaching Perturabo? Because he's an interesting Primarch out of the Primarchs in that it's all very grounded. Whether it's grounded in the right kind of place is arguable.
Yeah,
he's quite a grounded Primarch.
He is, as much as a Primarch can be. I think that's one of the things.
Relative.
Everything is relative. This guy can read a battlefield data in an eye blink and process it before he takes a breath. Everything is kind of relative. But he is very pragmatic. I think everything is pragmatism. That's and everything is about. We're talking about the Alpha Legion, similar but different in that everything is about winning. Everything is about winning, but just a fundamentally different approach taken. So he, in Angel Exterminatus, he encounters something that he cannot overcome with the weapons that he has and the understanding that he has at that time. So he goes, well, I have to understand it. I have to have a weapon to be able to overcome this enemy. And that's his mindset, is the straight line between where he is now and what he needs to achieve. And he pursues that straight line relentlessly.
Until he pursues it until he finds out what's there. And are his principles that, like, one of his major key defining factors, in that, again, they might be based on some strange logic or what have you, but they're there. And arguably they're the one thing that keeps him, like, a traitor.
I think above all, actually, he's got principles, but he's also got, they're always balanced out by flaws. One of his principles is actually, weirdly, loyalty.
Yes.
So I know that sounds so weird, given that he's on the traitor side, but he is loyal to Horus right up until. Well,
he's more loyal to his oath.
Yeah,
it feels, because he broke it once, and he won't break his oath again.
Yep.
Because he's done it once. Until Horus changes the game. And at the end.
And this is the thing, I think, actually, his big resentment, and the reason why all Primarchs, they're repeating patterns, and then their sons repeat those patterns, and they're repeating the mistakes of the Emperor. That's, if you want to understand the Emperor, look at his sons. You want to understand Primarchs, look at
best example of that is Magnus and Ahriman.
Exactly. Magnus does exactly what the Emperor does.
And Ahriman just steps right in those footsteps.
Exactly. And they're all doing exactly the same.
I know better than my dad.
And then we'll be condemned by my dad. And it's perfectly repeated. But the Perturabo resents one of his biggest flaw, his darkness, is one of the part of that is resentment, and in particular, it's the resentment of him being used, as he sees it, and just kind of like ground down and used like a tool, until kind of like the equivalent of just go there, do that, do whatever it takes, sit on. In his mind, obviously, he's a Primarch. He doesn't do this, but he thinks this way of like sit in a trench for X number of years and just, suffer and just do whatever is necessary, and then eventually win, and then just be not even get thanks, but just get right next job, and deceived, and which they all bear that resentment, and lied to and strung on. And I think that's one of the big tipping points also then with Horus, that he sees that same pattern reoccurring with Horus. It's like, I've just been used again.
Yeah. And my deal's been changed, and I'm in the same position that I would have been. Yeah.
That's the real tipping point, I think, for him.
It's a real strange character for me, to the point where I'm like, I could collect Iron Warriors. No, I can't collect. Yeah, I could collect Iron Warriors. And actually, it's when we get to the Solar War, and he finally does his. Nope, that's my line. Which I saw someone was like his petulance, and I'm like, I don't think it's petulance. I think it's a breaking point, a line in the sand where he's gone. Nope.
Because he does the contrasting bit is in Talon, where Horus tells him no. And he obeys. He completely obeys after everything that he has done. And, everything that he's done on Talon is utterly terrible. But from his point of view, everything that he has achieved, every, sort of like all the losses he's taken, all of this, all of that he has done, he goes, okay, yep, you're the War Master. You say no. I've told you why I'm doing this. You still say no. Done. Okay, I'll walk away. And then contrasting it rather than doing it is so it isn't petulance, it's informed by that and all the other stuff, all the other stuff that he's done. So yeah, he's basically he at that moment he's the guy that's gone, you've not only have you, if you look at it, he is the last to clue in. You should have done it much, much earlier, because it's like, yeah, Horus is going to be eventually just like the Emperor in terms of how he's treating you. You've finally caught up and realized what is going on not in terms of what they're doing is bad. None of them think like that. But in terms of how, you're being used and as a tool,
and as and what the needs of Horus are.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Such an interesting character. Cool. We should move on because, as you said earlier, this is going a lot longer than I thought. So
that's right.
And last time as well. So Siege of Terror.
Yes. Yeah.
Being asked to be on that, were you all bought in? Was that an approach and then a kind of come sit round and chat once we've got you on board? Or
so let me try and think about all the bits that happened to go in that. So it was sort of queued up and there were a number of like early like meetings and discussions about, right, we're going to start. It's going to start. We're going to, because I knew that apart from anything else, because Slaves to Darkness was, queued up as being the novel that is, from the traitor point of view, is the kind of like launch pad pre the siege. It's like, right, we assemble everybody, we go to Terror. And then there were a lot of chats, just really about the scope of the siege, about how it would be approached, and then I mean, at that point, I think I was told, I think I knew I was going to be on the team really, really early for that. But then, really, which books everyone was writing, that sort of came along, and I always wanted to do the solo war bit. So I was, I think I threw my hat into the ring quite early on, sort of saying, out of all the pieces, I would really love to do this. For a few different reasons, not least of which it would involve writing lots of ships, and I love writing. I love writing Void Warfare, so so that was a big part of it.
Was there much of putting the hat in this? Did Aaron get up on the table and demand Blood Angels and Sanguinius?
I can't remember that actually, but I think there were certain things. I think there were bits that were kind of almost givens. And I think that was probably one. Chris and the capstone of Jagatar Khan's story. I think from memory, some of those were sort of like givens.
Awesome. So Solar War, epic opening to the series. Some people will say, why do you do Jubal Khan so bad?
I think well, I would say this. I think I did him well. I think I did him well.
I think people completely misread that.
Yeah.
They're warriors, they're space marines, they're going to die on the field of battle. They just want an epic death. Like, there isn't much more epic than almost taking Abaddon's head off. He came close. He came real close. I think you're fair on that one. I think there's this weird kind of, I say weird, I kind of get it. The loyalists keep losing. It's like, well, the heretics do have to get to Terror. Like, you can't have the loyalists winning all the fight and the terrorists still, the terrorists, the heretics still push in the traitor legions. So people got to die.
And I think also it was a pairing. I'd written some stuff with Jubal before, and he was one of. There were lists of characters. There were huge lists of characters, like almost everyone that you could imagine that had been mentioned before, that would possibly be at the siege at some point. And then discussions about whether about the kind of encounters, whether there were pairings that made sense, whether there were ends that made sense, how to end different characters, as in by end different characters, I mean, where would they finish up in the story? So, for example, like where Sigismund eventually does end up, literally, where some of these other characters, I suppose I won't just spoil it for everybody, but where certain characters, Horus Heresy and all these characters, where they end up in the story, so it's and like you say, not everybody can come out alive, and that's also part of the impact, really, of like who we, some of them we know, but part of the drama then comes out of how they ended up where they are.
Absolutely. I'm completely with you on that. I just had to bring it up because there are certain corners of the internet who are not as happy with it in that one. And then we got Mortis, brilliant. Big engine warfare. It's always one that divides people, but it's
it was a lot of fun. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just trying to phrase a question, and my brain's a bit slow because I've said before, but it's my boy's 4th birthday today, so I am shot to pieces. The landing of the Titans, of the reveal of the plans from the traitors, was that of your design? Was that a kind of a working together in the group? I
can remember bits of it. I think it was. Having said that, it is probably a bit of a blur, or a bit of a blur in place, because they're heavy books to write. All the siege books. There's so much input, and there are so many notes. And
on that, how much? Because I didn't talk to Dan on this. How much pressure did you feel writing, particularly the Solar War? You're opening this deal. That's a pretty big book. There are bigger books because someone's got to finish it. But you're opening this. Did you feel that pressure when you were writing it? Were you sending off notes to friends going, "Oh man, this bit, like, I got to get it right"? Or were you pretty like, "I've got this"? I think.
Well, it's right. It's really, that's a really interesting question. Did it feel pressure? Yes, yeah, of course. But but not in, I don't think, that kind of like crippling kind of way of being, oh my goodness, I need to learn this. But I think we all knew the import of like what we were doing. But I will say that, and I think I've said in other places, nobody really knew quite how tough those books were to write until you were in it.
Everyone said it.
I think famously now everyone has heard the phrase "siege face," which I think Dan put out in the public, which was, I think I coined it because I arrived I think 2/3 or something of the way through Solar War to one of the meetings, and you could see the book on my face. I had this, and then everybody subsequently turned up. It's like, you wait until it's your turn, and everyone's like, "No, I'll be fine. And then it's like everyone will be like, "Oh my goodness, oh God, what's going on?"
I was just thinking after I asked the question, I was like, should I be asking this to your wife, to the other writers, to the people you're confiding? Because you know, I think there are certain times, and you know, God, Dan did an amazing job of those last 3 books, and they are amazing. And I almost feel like I can see at points I need to make this stick, you know, and I'm being hypercritical on this, and we covered it on the show. But I mean, it's like there aren't many bigger books really to write in.
No.
When you look across the whole of anything, like you've got to end the Horus Heresy. Like if you're in this hobby, like, you know, is writing the next Star Wars book as important in a way? Like, you know, this is a final piece, and ending any series, even from the start of the Siege, it's the ending. It's always filled with a bit of that. Oh shoot, you know.
I don't think I sort of felt the end. You know, oh, we're at the end, and that kind of
right.
You know, pressure until afterwards. It's like I didn't have one of those. It's a bit like walking a tightrope. I didn't have one of those don't look down moments.
Okay.
But it was the sheer volume of stuff. So you've got and that you've got to take into account. So I had a huge document which was just the notes on everything that had been mentioned about the opening phases of the Siege.
Sure.
Everything that had been mentioned about the solar system, and there was then everything about what characters we were including, what we weren't. And then my sort of like plan for this is what happens in the opening phases, because you have to know all of that. And then underneath that, kind of like, and this is the bit of it we're actually going to show in the story. And then where you are within all of that.
And then where you leave the characters for other people.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're running forward to, how they're going to pick it up. And you're doing all of that while trying to write engaging, show engaging things, make, you know, do exciting stuff on the page. It's just it was just a huge amount to hold in your head for a year or so, or longer in Dan's case.
I remember talking to ADB. I was messaging him, and he'd finished, and he was like, "I just don't know. Like, I've been told it's good, but." I know Aaron's Aaron anyway, but it was very much a kind of like, it's done. Like, I think I'm okay with it.
When I finished Solar War, it was one of the. It was a very strange feeling. That was the moment actually when I'd actually finished it, where I went, "Oh my goodness, we're at the end."
Right.
It was where you actually go, we're finishing the Heresy. That was the moment for me when I actually finished the Solar War. I went, "Oh wow!" Until then, it wasn't quite real, but and you know, that was anyone that's read the afterword on it, and it's like for the Solar War, we'll see it in there. It's kind of like this huge. You sort of like feel all of the previous at that point, 16 odd years behind you.
Wow.
And you go, wow. Yeah. Well, I did anyway.
And so the Heresy ended, and the Heresy is done. And then someone must have said, "Yeah, John, we've not really finished with the Heresy." Was it that kind of like, we're getting the band back together?
Well, sort of. It was I think the thing with the Heresy is that obviously it's the arc of the story was complete.
Yes.
We'd told the full arc of the story, but Black Library basically said, well, we'd like to have a look at the Drop Site Massacre again. And to me, that always kind of made sense, because it's featured in so many books and it's alluded to in so many different books. And it's actually the oldest named Heresy event. I think off the top of my head, it is the event that's mentioned in Realm of Chaos, as like actually named. A load of the other stuff is talked about other than the Siege. I think it's the thing that's actually talked about first in there. and it's been a component of so many other stories. First Heretic, Fulgrim, and and lots of others. But it's never had its own telling.
Been the star of the show in its own story, has it?
No. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, it made complete sense to me. And so yeah, they said, would you like to find it? And I was like, yeah.
Cool. And having read the book, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I've seen people talking about it online, and I echo kind of a lot of their thoughts. First one being, well, people were reading it and were the first boom that it was Keeble, wasn't it? That Jonathan Keeble put out. Yeah. It was the first boom, and they were like time tagging it. I was like, we're there. So essentially, it's like, oh, they're going to do the drop site massacre. Okay, there's going to be things to talk about pre-drop site massacre, but then it's one big fight, and it can very easily become the worst kind of bolter porn. Your approach was to break it up into those stories as we kind of expect, but it was a rapid kind of view around the battle. How did you come to kind of that decision?
So, what I made a series of choices looking at it, which I think worked out well, but which I regretted while I was writing it. What do I mean by that? I mean, they made writing it really, really hard. So I wanted a particular feel for the book, which was that, you just get this relentless sense of like forward momentum. Like everything is moving forward. Everything is moving towards this massacre. It's like, this, like a ticking clock, just going forwards. And that's the feel that I wanted someone to have reading it. Like you're being, pulled forwards into like this inescapable thing. So what I decided to do was, the first thing I was like, right, everything is going to be in a single line of time. So we're not going to jump forwards, we're not going to jump backwards, we're not going to jump like sideways. Everything just moves forwards. So from like the first bit to the end bit is a single like slice through time. So when you leave one character or event, if you come back to them later, they will have moved, stuff will have happened. You're not coming back to exactly the same place as they were before because time has passed. So that made it quite tricky. And also just the number of characters, because I wanted to do one of the other things was that I didn't want to retread ground.
Sure.
So, for example, I wasn't going to go and retell the story of the Galval Bat because that's in the First Heretic, and I wasn't going to redo scenes or stuff that was in other books or like really used characters that have been used to tell part of the Drop Site Massacre before. So it was like, right, who have we? It's like I wanted to use all the other people, and then there were things within that I wanted to show. So I really wanted to do stuff with the Emperor's Children, and in particular, like the first Noise Marines, the first Cacophony, and that then brought in Fabius, and sort of so on. And also, though, it made not looping back onto like characters that had been used before. Also, then meant that some legions we hadn't had a huge amount of in terms of the actual battle bit of the Drop Site Massacre got like a load, became much more prominent. So it's like, right, there are going to be at least 2 Salamander characters in here. But then the other decision that I made was that I wouldn't just introduce that I'd have a certain number of characters, and we would follow their stories until they exited that story. So, it's like I wasn't just going to pop up a character for like 2 minutes of a POV and then kill them. I do it, I think, once or twice, but fundamentally, it's like you're introduced to Astrea, for example, and you're going to follow her until the end. You're introduced to Orth, you're following him to the end. So yeah, that's some of the thought processes that I sort of like went through to think about who and how I was going to do it, and that's without touching any of the sort of like the maps or the logistics of the battle or the black books or anything like that.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it flows. It's like a single camera almost firing around the fight, so you can't.
That's exactly what I wanted it to be. It's kind of like this sort of like this idea of like there's a camera on all these characters' shoulders, and so if and I think this literally happens in the book from where a character is very, very close to an explosion, and then you see that explosion from like 2 miles away from a different character's point of view, and that's the connection point. So you go like click click between those 2 different camera views. Which I think also I wanted it to have that really sort of grounded, you're there kind of feel.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Does I suppose it's hard to tell because when you're writing it, but do the fact that that everyone knows the story change the way you write a fight like that? Is that relevant compared to writing the Heresy novels when everything could be a little bit more different? I don't know if I phrased the question that well. But
in some ways it's very similar to doing like it's like a mini creative challenge of like the whole Heresy, because everyone knows the ending of the Heresy. And similarly, everyone knows the Drop Zone Massacre. It's a massacre. Most people die, but it's the how. So, and also you can use it of that, the fact that everyone knows it's in the title, they're going to be massacred, as a kind of, it gives drama to it, because hopefully you get that sort of feeling of like, oh no, I know what's going to happen. I wish they knew what was going to happen so that it wouldn't happen, but it's going to happen. Oh God, how's this going to play out? But I think part of it, people know it so well, that did mean chose to do certain things like trying to give perspectives and show events that hadn't been seen before, so that people would come to it, would feel really familiar with it, would feel really comfortable with it, and also they would have that feeling of like, oh, I hadn't seen this before. That's that's new, that's cool. Oh, I didn't realize that. Or so they had that sort of like sense of like freshness, and that it sort of felt fresh, that it felt familiar, and also and also at the same time that it's just slotted into everything else that they'd read as well about it. Those were the kind of 3 things almost that I wanted it to do, and hopefully managed to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I've read it, and as usual with these kind of books, anyone with kids will know, and busy lives, that my reading's like not as regular as it used to be. Enjoyed it. I want to go now and listen to the audiobook and kind of do it that way. And
the audio is phenomenal.
I kind of like doing that as
Jonathan
well.
Keeble, phenomenal.
Quite soon after I read a book, I'm lucky in that I can listen a lot at work, but it kind of cements stuff in, and you pick up on different things as well, which is really good. So I'm going to be doing that at some point soon. Now I'm up to date with the Dresden Files, and I can fit that in. Thank you very much for coming on, John. I'm sure we'll get to do this again some point in time. As I said, I could delve into just your short stories and your audios for ages. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Can you tell us what you're up to going forwards, or?
Not really right now. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm writing more stuff. So cool. Yeah, but everything as ever under a shroud of secrecy.
Sure. You have a website, don't you?
I do. John JOHN-French.com. And yeah, I'm do a load of stuff on there.
That with some story stuff and things like that on there as well. So it's worth a check out. You can get all the links from that. Yeah, we look forward to more stuff. Frankly, hopefully.
Awesome. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully from our end, and hopefully for you as well. It's and it's great to have authors on here again, because we don't get as much access. This has been we've talked about it on the show plenty of times. You don't have to say a thing, John. It's frustrating as hell that we don't get to meet you guys as often, guys and girls, as often as we used to, and talk about things in the way that we used to. Life happens.
Yeah.
But no, we'll have to get you on again soon, I'm sure. And you never know, we might have to recreate the John ADB podcast we did a while ago, because that was really quite interesting. I'll have to get our claws into Aaron and see what we can do.
That would be great. No, and love to come back on anytime.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of the Imperial Truth Podcast. We were going to have a longer episode. We had it planned. Unfortunately, life does its things when you got two parents trying to find time to record, and Howard's had a busy time with his little ones and stuff, so it just didn't happen. We will record it. It will go into a future show. It will happen. It was look at the Drop Site Massacre, actually, which I hadn't realised that we hadn't fully done. So we will get around to that. It will come out. There'll be more stuff to talk about going forwards. As usual, if you have any questions for the show, please feel free to send them in. greg@theimperialtruth.com. If you want to email them, you can find us on our socials, imperial_truth, imperial_truth on Twitter, @childofang on Twitter and Instagram, and Blue Sky and Threads. Even I occasionally visit those ones. So, and the Facebook page, search for the Imperial Truth on the Facebook page as well. So you can use any of those to contact us. As I say, any questions, any requests, any ideas, any feedback, please fire it through. We are more than welcome to it. It was good to have John on. I am currently sending out emails to try and get next people on, more than one person at a time, because it's become a lot harder than it was. I would love to get John back on, actually, and with someone else, and that's, I've got a plan for a proper question and answer session, but as soon as I know of a date, as if that can happen, then I will let you know, and you can fire in your questions as well, because it's always good to outsource these things every now and then, and get probably wiser people than I sending in questions. I hope you enjoyed the chat we had. This was supposed to come out previously, but it was one of those ones where the recording got lost. So yeah, hopefully we managed to keep the energy up, and the it's always a bit awkward when you're rehashing similar topics, similar questions, but there were different interviews. So yeah, as I say, I hope you enjoyed it on that front. We just had the announcement that Custodies are dropping everywhere next on the Saturday coming when this releases. If you enjoy the show, if you are this side of the pond, if you are going to buy some custodies, and if you want to be an amazing person, then you can use our affiliate link at Element Games, and that gives us a little bit of a kickback. We also, in the notes, have the element codes, so if you are feeling super generous, then you can use those as well when you are getting double your element codes and you want to give some crystals to someone else. It's all very gratefully received. Anyone who's supported us on Patreon, all the usual stuff. We really do appreciate it. I know I say this every week, every recording, should I say, but we really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot to know that you think we are worth your support in whatever manner that is. It's quite humbling at times. So many thanks. Before I do go, I will talk about this on the show. I think I'll put it in the intro next time. My wife is doing a marathon walk around London in order to help raise some money for a charity called Abigail's Footsteps. Listeners of the show that have been here for a while will know Abigail's Footsteps is a baby loss charity, and we were unfortunate enough to need their services back in 2020 with our first son Jackson, and we've done various fundraising things for them on the show, including the really successful 18 Legions last year. So Emma's decided to go and do this walk with members of her family. Could be quite an interesting thing to do. So it's quite a long walk, take them a long time through East London. I will put a link for that in the show notes. It'll be up on my link tree. Where else are we going to put it? We'll put it around, and I will share it on the socials as well as we get closer to the date. If you feel like you would like to support a charity, we would be absolutely grateful if you could use our link. And again, times are hard. We know that, right? There's not a huge amount of money swanning around unless you're, one of those people. So anything is gratefully received, or even a share. If that's all you can do, then that's amazing. Thank you all for even considering it. We appreciate it. The charity appreciate it, and anyone who is unfortunate enough to use their services truly appreciates it. And I know we had a lot of contact shortly after Jackson died, and we know there's a lot of people out there in the gaming centre, in out there in general, but a lot of gamers contact me afterwards, so I know it means a lot to a lot of you as well. There are so many good causes, though. I say honestly, we appreciate that fact as well. You could give money to everyone until you got no money left, and there'd still be more knocking. That's a societal issue, isn't it? Anyway, next episode. What are we doing next episode? Well, that's a good one. We'll have to think about that one. Howard and I have chatted a little bit. We've got some levers to look at. Or levers, whatever they are now. They're journal tacticas, aren't they? To look at. And heaven knows when GW are going to drop this new book on us that they revealed at Adepticon. But that could be some point soon. As we said at the top of the show, we are at Salute. Please feel free to come and say hello if you see us wandering around. Looks like UK Games Expo's end of May, so we got another episode before that, but certainly I hope to be there for the Saturday. We'll see. I've got to try and plan out Salute and UK Games Expo, actually. Something I need to get on with. I say all these things when I record the show and then go to bed, and then the next day completely forget about them, but that's me. I'm sure you can all appreciate it. This has been another rambly exit of the show for you guys. I hope you appreciate what I'm doing, sitting in a room talking to myself. The signs of a madman. If you do get to this point of the show, let me know, because I reckon a lot of people click off before this, and that's completely understandable. But anyway, Well, I think we'll leave that there, and until next time, you have been listening to The Imperial Truth.